Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is the Bakersfield Business Partners podcast. And this is actually our first podcast. We're very excited to get this started. Bakersfield Business Partners is a group of business owners and professionals. We meet on a weekly basis, and we help each other grow our businesses through referrals and really through education and relationships. So we're here today. We have our first guest, Mr. Richard Gauthier. We're so glad you could have us. You could join us. Excuse me, Richard, introduce yourself.
Richard Gauthier, and I have G&G Auto Repair on Fruitvale Avenue here in Bakersfield. And here we are. I'm the guinea pig. We're the first one doing this. We'll find out how we do.
Yeah, hardly a guinea pig. Let me introduce myself. My name is Duncan Harris. I'm the owner of Insurance Savings Group and the president of Bakersfield Business Partners. So again, Richard, thanks for joining us. So you are the owner of G&G Auto. Tell us about G&G Auto Repair.
Well, we fix cars and trucks.
Sure.
We work on everything. We work on European, domestic,
diesel, gas, all that. Foreign.
Yeah, we do diesel trucks. We've got technicians that are trained in all of those things. So we're a general, I guess what you call a general services auto repair. But we've been open for 11 years.
Wow.
And started from scratch, ground zero, 11 years ago.
Yeah. It's been a fun ride, I assume.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I mean, it's, you have to work.
Right.
But I worked for car dealerships for 29 years.
Yeah.
I started as a salesperson and worked my way up to general manager and, filled a lot of chairs.
Sure.
And spent time with three of the large dealerships here in town over those 29 years. And it's time to get out and do something for myself.
Yeah, that's cool. So 11 years ago, you started G&G Auto, and was that on Fruitvale, where you are now?
Yep, where we are now.
Same location. What's your address there?
3410 Fruitvale Avenue.
And what is the cross street Meany? What is that cross? Or is it?
We're between Downey and Meany.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and it's on I think the east side of the road. Anyhow, everyone's probably seen it. It's the black and yellow G&G Auto Repair sign.
Yeah, we got a sign out there.
Yeah, got the sign, and the parking lot's always full. But 11 years ago when you started it, I remember it was small. I mean, how many people did you have?
It was two of us. It was, just my partner, Eric, and I. And, Eric was a master tech.
Sure.
And we started up. I was a white-collar worker, but I've worked and built on cars and Jeeps and built my own rock buggy. And, so I was fairly mechanically adept, even though I was never a mechanic. So.
But you had been in the car business for 30
I've been
years.
Around cars my whole life and have been a gearhead enthusiast my whole life. And so I knew about that stuff, but Eric did the work on the regular mechanical stuff, and I worked on off-road cars because at the beginning, because we were very heavily in the off-road community, we worked on off-road cars. We did tube work and suspensions and axles, and as well as regular auto repair fixing cars.
Right.
But,
so how many guys do you have now? So it started 11 years ago, 2 guys, and it seems like you're just busy now. And how many mechanics do you have working for you?
Yeah, we have 7 mechanics.
7 mechanics, and you have a few people at the front.
Yeah, we have 13 employees.
That's
not counting me.
That's one thing when I go in to your shop. I enjoy. I feel like your staff is there to really kind of handle every part of the process. Diane will call me and give me the updates. You have great service writers. And then, of course, mechanics. And so there's always just a nice follow-up, nice touch.
Coming out of the dealerships, obviously, I worked at Bill Wright Toyota. I worked for Haddad. I worked for Jim Burke Ford. And we had a lot of people there, a lot of moving parts. And, you really, really learned about customer service, taking care of people, taking care of all your employees. And so, that's kind of what we've built the business on. That's
great.
Kind of going back to how we started out, we quickly got away from off-road stuff because, my goal in starting a business was not to have a job, but to be a business owner.
Right.
And, I heard a wise man say that I invested in a business, not a job. I can go get a really good job. So I realized we had to get out of the off-road stuff because I was the guy that knew off-road, and I didn't want to have to work that much. So
it can be hard to do though sometimes. To separate
it is. So the guys, there's some really good off-road shops in town, and they do a great job.
Yeah.
And we focus on auto repair.
So for the people listening, you're driving down the road, your car starts making a noise, or it's handling weird. That's called G&G. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. That's what we do.
Check engine light comes on.
Yep.
Oil.
No, that's what we do.
Tires.
And obviously we're going to do a lot of repairs. But one of our core values at G&G is that we want to do a lot of maintenance. And your ownership experience of a vehicle is better and less costly if all the maintenance is done. Mm-hmm. So repairs kind of happen. I mean, if your car breaks down, you're going to have to get it in and get it fixed.
Yeah, it's just so inconvenient, the untimely repair, right? I mean, it's going to come at the worst time.
It never happens when you expect it.
It never happens when you have, $10 million in the bank and when you've got all this extra time on your hands.
Nobody says next Wednesday when I come out, my battery's going to be dead and my car's not going to start.
Right. So maintenance, you've got to just stay on top of the maintenance.
Yeah, we have 4 sayings that we have come up with that kind of encapsulate who we are, what we want to emphasize. And one of those sayings is that maintenance is always cheaper than repair.
Right.
Another saying is that we have found that the most expensive repairs normally relate back to overdue maintenance, mm-hmm. which is an observation that we have done.
Sure.
And another one is we inspect your car every time it's here because we want you to be safe and your car to be reliable. So we feel we have an obligation to do that. The other saying is, I can remember things here, I'm on the spot, but we would rather find a problem while your car is sitting in our shop than you find it out on the road.
Right.
So that's kind of who we are, what we do, and we, there's going to be repairs, but our customers overall are going to be happier, and we're going to have more customers if we can do the maintenance and keep up on it, and we're going to have plenty of work. I know there's kind of everybody doesn't have this perception, but it gets thrown out there that you go to an auto repair shop and they're going to try to find stuff that they can sell you.
Sure.
And believe me, there is more than enough work to do on cars that a customer was not going to be able to afford to do it all, and we're not going to have the time to do it all without anybody making anything up or trying to, they're mm-hmm. just looking over a car and keeping up on the maintenance and an occasional repair. There's tons of work out there to do.
Right. In other words, you don't really have this huge incentive to go making things up.
No way.
You guys are busy.
We're busy. We have,
how many cars are on the property?
We have 50 to 70 cars in our shop getting worked on or waiting to get worked on virtually all the time.
Wow. I mean, that's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, tell me, you said you're kind of a body or a repair shop like any other repair shop, but what do you think really sets G&G apart? What do you think sets your business apart maybe from some of your competitors or maybe from the way things used to be done?
I mean, what we say internally, this is something we talk about regularly, everybody's going to fix a car. What separates us is how a customer feels doing business with us, mm-hmm. how a person feels when they come to our repair shop, mm-hmm. and how do they feel when they're doing business with us. We call it warm fuzzies. What separates us from another shop? Warm fuzzies. That's what we say to ourselves internally. And one of the things that we teach and emphasize regularly is that it's a situation. We're not. This is not a wheel bearing replacement. This is a single mom who has a noise in her car. Mm. We are dealing with a situation with a single mom that has a noise in her car.
Sure.
This is not a real wheel bearing.
Sure. Try and always remember the human factors of the situation.
We're people. You know, we're people. I mean, we're getting a kind of background of what we talk about on a regular basis, and you know, the goal is to make us who we are. But I have to tell some of my people when they come to work for us to forget any idea of being professional. Because people have preconceived ideas.
Right.
I don't want you to be professional. I want you to be real. I want you to be a person. I don't want anybody. I catch my people in a conversation representing the company. Mm-hmm. No. That's a no at G&G Auto Repair. You are a person who works here talking to a person who has a problem. And the two of you are going to work out how to resolve that problem. That's how we go at it. We're not perfect because we're still human.
Right.
And we revert back into habits. But that is our emphasis. That's our goal. That's what we talk about on a regular basis.
No, I love that. I love that it's people focused, you know, human centered.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's the ideal customer? Is it someone who owns their car, you know, wants to do the maintenance, or you know, what's kind of the ideal customer? Maybe the most common customer you get. Like, what do you see?
I mean, obviously, everybody that has a car is our customer.
Sure.
But really, you know, our core business and who we want to attract is people that want their car to last a long time.
So even if you're leasing a car, right? If I still needed some work done, do I need to take it to the dealership or do I take it to your shop?
Well, I mean, basically, the idea of leasing a car is you kind of have it while it has warranty, and then you go on to another car. Mm-hmm. So you're not really going to have any repairs, but but we do maintenance. I mean, we can do the maintenance on new cars. There's no restriction. You don't have to go to the dealer to have maintenance done. To keep your warranty intact. I mean, you can have somebody else do that. You have to have a record of it if you do have a warranty. But no, if you want to keep your car a long time, cars are really, really expensive. They're expensive to replace. If you want to keep your car a really, really long time, that means that you want to keep up on the maintenance. So if you want a shop that is going to emphasize and help you stay on track and on top of maintenance and keep that car running, minimize repairs, then we're the place for you, because that's what we want to emphasize. We're going to get plenty of repairs without doing anything.
Right.
Cars break down.
Right. So let's talk about that. You know, someone's lease is up and they could go and buy a new car or a different car, right? Or they could choose to own that car, right? And you kind of talk about, man, what's the cost of buying a new car? You have the sales tax and all these different price or costs compared to what the maintenance would be. I mean, talk more about that when you buy a car.
Well, again, you know, we say maintenance is always cheaper than repairs.
Let's say replacing an old car with a brand new car, right?
Well, I mean, you know, sales tax in California is 7-8%, depending on which county.
What is that on a $50,000 car?
Well, it's $4,000, 8%, $4,000. So I mean, you've got a car that, you know, the power steering rack and pinion is starting to go out, or it's leaking or clicking or something. And, you know, and I'm just pulling numbers out of the air here. These aren't accurate numbers, but, you know, it's going to be $1,500 to fix it, you know, or you have a transmission that goes out, you know, it's going to be $3,000 to fix it.
But, and that's usually when people say, "Oh, I'll just get a new car."
Well, yeah, all right. Well, it's $4,000 just in sales tax to get that new car that goes nowhere. So, you know, cars cost. I mean, you're gonna make a payment on a car that has warranty, and then when the payments are up, you're gonna do a few repairs and you're gonna pay for maintenance. I mean, you're gonna have 100,000 mile service that has all complete fluid changes through the car and spark plugs and whatever. But if you look at it over time, modern cars are very well built. Modern cars, everything out there will go over 200,000 miles if it's maintained. And So cars are expensive.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, and I think to most of us, it pays to have a car that you have for a long time. That car with 150,000 miles is going to drive just as nice and just as economically as it did when it had 100 miles on it.
Sure.
But it's not going to do that for free. You have to keep up the maintenance on it, and you're going to have an occasional repair. I mean, an alternator, is going to go out maybe once in the lifetime of that car, or maybe a starter or something. The bushings wear out in the suspension. I mean, you might have something that happens like that. But in repairs like that are kind of unique to people because everybody drives different. Some people drive a ton of miles on the highway. Some people drive a ton of miles in town, starting and stopping. We live downtown. We don't go very far. We run a lot of errands and things and don't go very far.
Right.
And some people live on the outskirts of town and everywhere they go is further. So
yeah, longer trips.
And all that stuff, all that stuff makes a difference of where we go and what we do and how a car wears.
So the car payment's up. You got 70, 80,000 miles on the car. Financially, long term, it's going to make a lot of sense to keep that car, to do the maintenance. Even a repair is so much less than the cost of buying a new car. Now that's great. So you own a car, and what are some of the common pitfalls, mistakes maybe that car owners make that lead to the costliest repairs, or even the most common issues that you see?
Well, I mean, oil changes are a biggie. You got to do oil changes. Modern cars, to get the fuel mileage and the performance. I mean, I think we all acknowledge that we want cars that perform.
Sure.
And the manufacturers are competing with each other for higher power, more horsepower in the cars. But they also have to meet the government CAFE standards, the corporate average fuel economy.
Okay.
So they have to meet fuel economy and they have to meet more power.
Right.
Well, that means there's more technology inside the engine, variable cam timing, lots of different things that are going on inside a modern engine that weren't in V8s from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So that means it's more critical for the oil to be fresh and new. So that stuff works correctly.
Sure.
And as oil gets older, I mean, there's a lot of heat cycles.
Right.
I mean, every time you start your car, it heats up, and then you get out, and it cools back down. And then it heats up, and then it cools back down. All those heat cycles wear on parts and fluids. So you got to keep the oil up. If the oil isn't kept up, it gets sludgy and gooey, and it clogs up passages inside the engine.
And that's what really does permanent damage.
And that will definitely shorten the life of an expensive motor. Same with the transmission, But stuff like coolant, or brake fluid, coolant is in the radiator and keeps the engine cool. Has corrosion fighting stuff in it to keep it all clean. Well, you go too long and don't change the coolant, and now it starts getting rust and corrosion inside the engine, and it plugs the tubes in the radiator, and then over time, all of a sudden, your car ran totally fine last summer, but now all of a sudden this summer we start getting 100-degree days, and you go up to Grapevine and it gets hot.
Yeah. Or
you're sitting at a stoplight and it starts to get hot. So anyway, yeah, and same with brake fluid. People don't really think about brake fluid very often, but a lot of times when we replace a bad brake master cylinder, it's got kind of a fuzzy, gooey slime in it because the brake fluid's never been changed and it's too old. Brake fluid absorbs moisture, and that moisture in the fluid causes things to happen. So, it's just like we said, maintenance is always cheaper than repairs.
Yeah, let's talk about the price. I mean, you and I work together a little bit. I know a little bit about your business, but talk about, how inflation is affecting your business.
Yeah, I mean, to do, we're noticing right now parts prices are going up. Parts are harder to get. There's
even
some
the price
supply
of
and transportation
coolant, right?
issues.
Isn't the
old
coolant, new coolant? Isn't there a huge price
and
difference
it's not. That's not dramatic, but we are seeing we are seeing this year a little bit more increase in some parts costs than we have previously. Normally, we don't really notice it. It happens so gradually that you don't notice it, but it's happened to where we're noticing it this year.
Yeah.
Another thing is the job market. There's more jobs than there are people, and so it is harder to attract and keep good people, and we have really good people.
Right, good mechanics,
and we have really good mechanics, but
that's,
they have to be paid.
And I want. I just wanted to touch on that. I know it's really hard as a consumer sometimes when you go in and you're like, man, I thought this was going to be $100 and it's $200. But I know working with you, the kind of quality that you're trying to produce from your business, that means the mechanics, the parts, right, everything. So, I mean, I trust in that. When I go in, like I don't have anything to worry about because I know, man, these are good people behind the desk and working in the shop, and I know the processes and procedures that you have in your business. But I think it's important, you could just Google online and maybe talk to your uncle or whoever's got the cheapest auto body repair. And man, sometimes that comes back to bite you so bad.
Well, there's an interesting thing. There's a lot of industries that you need certifications and training for. Mm-hmm. The auto repair industry, we work on your car. You put your family in it and drive 70 miles an hour down the highway after we get done working on it. And there are no training or certification or licensing requirements for an auto mechanic. There are no training, licensing, or certification requirements for an auto repair shop.
It's a head scratcher.
Now, interestingly, the one certification that our mechanics have to have? Air conditioning.
Air conditioning. Well, that's
and you know why that? And you know why that is? That's because the EPA doesn't want you to let refrigerant go into the atmosphere.
Oh my gosh!
But
you're constantly putting your guys through training and certifications.
Yeah. No, we talk about it. One of our internal things is we have a culture of constant learning, and we have to keep training. Modern cars are getting more complicated. They're getting more technical. We used to say that there are 20 to 30 computers in a car. Well, now there's 70 to 100 computers, CPU circuit boards in a modern car. And our guys are as much electronics technicians as they are auto mechanics. Granted, we unbolt a part and take it off and bolt it back on, but we're using oscilloscopes and we're using all kinds of stuff to figure out whether the part is bad. So, the testing and diagnostic process is really the kicker here and what it takes to figure out what's wrong with a car. You can't look at a sensor and say whether it's bad or not. They all look the same. A good part looks the same as a bad part in most cases. So we have to do testing and we have to figure out what's going on.
Well, anything else before we kind of wrap it up? Anything else you'd want to tell me or share with our listeners?
Oh, I don't know. Just since we just commented on testing and diagnostics, I think most people are getting this, but I hope people will understand that as complicated as cars are, that there is more time and then potentially more cost and more money spent in actually figuring out what's wrong with the car.
Right.
I used to say, we spent an hour figuring out what's wrong and in 3 hours fixing it, and we're easily going to where it takes a couple hours to figure out what's going on and then a couple hours to fix it. So that's a trend that I think people should be aware of. Don't be freaked out.
Right.
That there's some cost. We get questions about that periodically, but I just say that our product is our time and our knowledge, and our most expensive equipment and our best trained technicians are the ones that are figuring out these problems with the cars. And so we have a high priced equipment and a high priced mechanic spending time, and we have to charge for that. So
Sure.
there is a cost to test and diagnose, kind of just like when you go to the doctor.
Sure.
So
Right. You want it done. You want the right
well,
diagnosis,
that's it. I mean,
right?
yeah, we're not going to guess. We're not just going to swap out a part to see what happens. We're going to test, and we're going to follow, flow charts and do electronic readouts and things to get into the insides of what's going on of these cars and what's actually going on and what do we have to replace to make it work right.
Well, awesome. Well, let's thanks so much for sharing about your business. Let's talk a little bit more about why you're here, right? So you've been a member of Bakersfield Business Partners for how long?
Well, I lose track. 6 years?
Yeah, I think I'm at 10.
7? I don't know, something like that, somewhere in there.
Right. And so we meet on a weekly basis, and we all kind of educate each other on our businesses and what kind of customers we're looking for. And then we try and pass referrals to each other. So you've been a member for 6 years. I mean, tell me a little bit, about what B&I means to you and maybe how it's helped you in your business.
Well, I mean, I love going to our networking meetings and being part of the group. I have good friends that I have made from being in the group. Mm-hmm. We have a good time. It's really cool how much we learn from each other, because I know stuff about air conditioning. I know stuff about real estate. I know stuff about chiropractic. I know stuff about all kinds of topics that I would have had no way of knowing that's interesting and valuable. So that's part of it. And then, we have a lot of good customers at G&G that are part of our networking group. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, definitely there is a monetary and customer benefit to being in the group, and as well as friends and relationships and learning, and it's a very enjoyable thing to be a part of.
Sure. No, I couldn't agree with you more. Just the business mentorship that's available there for free. Yeah. The experience that our members have is so valuable. Mostly business owners or sales professionals. Just a great group. And it is nice to be able to be the guy. It's like, you know what? I know a guy. When your family or your mom has a situation, Richard, I've got your cell phone number. I say, you know what? Let me call my guy and I'll find out the answer for you right now. And that's so great. I love doing that.
Yeah, and I like I've commented about this. When you work for a company, like for me, when I worked at car dealerships, mm-hmm. We had a management team, and we were around each other, and we planned, and we problem solved, and we goal set, and we strategized, and all this stuff. And you're part of a team, and then you start your own business, and you're not part of a team, mm-hmm. and you're out there on your own, and you're the one researching and looking and discussing and strategizing and goal setting and all this. And mm-hmm. so in some industries you have the opportunity to have peer groups. I do. I'm in a shop owners peer group. We have 90 shops nationwide, and you have to be at a certain level of values, consistency, volume, all that kind of stuff to be able to qualify to get in the group. But a lot of people don't have that, and B&I, our Bakersfield Business Partners group, gives people that. There's other, like you said, there's other business owners that you rub elbows with, go to lunch with, talk about, ask questions to. Right. And we have our own business peer group mm-hmm. that is, again, adds a lot of value to the networking group and what we can get out of it.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you again for being with me today. And I think this kind of concludes our first podcast.
Hey, we made it.
I know we did it. So thanks again. And if you're listening, we're Bakersfield Business Partners. We meet Tuesday mornings at 7:30, and we'd love to have you. But if not, I hope you enjoyed this very educational time with Richard Gauthier and G&G Auto. Richard, thanks so much.
All right. Take care.
All right.